northern Colorado. I come down here in the winter and spend 6 months down here. My mom lives in Rockport. Come down and spend 6 months with her. Happy hours on Friday in her house, so you know, y'all come on over. We come down here and live in our rig for 6 months out of the year and enjoy life. I own a Brinkley. I used to own a Forest River. I know what it's like to live on both ends of that spectrum now, and I definitely do enjoy my Brinkley a lot, but I will say that just as my cheap Forest River had problems, my big Brinkley has problems too. So a lot of the stuff that I have to offer for you, I do speak from experience as well as what I've learned. So what is Kleen Tank? Kleen Tank is an RV holding tank cleaning company. We go in with a 1500 PSI hydrojetter, go into your black and gray tanks and clean them out with 1500 PSI water pressure, and restore your tanks to a factory new. That's sensors working, odors gone, buildup, all of that stuff removed. A lot of people ask, how do you know that those tanks are clean? We've taken tanks out of RVs, cleaned them, cut them in half, and they are restored perfectly. Everything gets removed. The system does work quite well, and Kleen Tank has been around for 13 years, doing this from Indiana all the way to California. We've got dealers, we've got 50 dealers across the United States now. We have dealers in Canada, and we cover every state. Some of us cover multiple states. I cover Colorado in the summer, Rockport in the winter, and the good thing with Kleen Tank is that we are wherever you need us to be. We're at rallies, we're across the United States. Usually you're within 100 miles of a Kleen Tank dealer. And yes, we travel, and no, we don't charge extra fees. Those are some of the benefits of Kleen Tank and who we are. This is not a sales pitch for Kleen Tank. This is to how to take care of your RV rig. So we'll get into that stuff. Found that if we keep this conversation 30 minutes to 45 minutes, it's fine. If you talk too much about shit, the conversation goes to shit. So let's have a good time. Okay. Let's see here. We covered the first page. We'll jump right into your second page, picture with the tanks on it. Let's go over how your tanks are laid out. Read through the book. I'm going to give you a synopsis basically of how this is laid out. Inside Class A motorhomes, this is a picture of how things are usually laid out. You have a tank, a gray tank and a black tank laid right next to each other, and they're joined with a 90 right to an outlet. They're very quick, very simple, and they're laid out to drain the quickest. Oftentimes they do drain the most efficiently. If we go to the next page, on the back side, you will see two tanks tied together with a very long pipe. That is how most Class A's, most fifth wheels and travel trailers are laid out. You have 2 or 4 or 6 tanks in sequence laid out on the same line. Now, unfortunately, when you start laying out that many tanks right next to each other in between frame rails, you don't get any room for drop. So you're not getting what plumbing standards and houses are calling for, which is a 1/4 inch of drop per foot. Unfortunately with RVs, those things are flat. So when you have tanks that are flat all the way across the board, not any help with gravity or drainage, we need to fill our tanks to 100% full to achieve movement of water. So if you've ever pulled your tanks and you only had a 1/4 tank out, it just dribbles out and it takes forever. If you had a really, really full tank, you pull that thing, it shoots out of there. And it's because we're relying on gravity to help move our stuff along. So that'll give you an inclination of what your first problem is that you're running into in tanks. Why your sensors quit working, why you start getting buildup, why you start getting smell. It doesn't want to travel, it doesn't want to move. So tank construction is one of the biggest reasons that you have issues with your tanks. So I'm going to skip over sensors and go to this next page real quick, and we're going to come back. It's going to show a good picture of a tank for you, just a single solitary tank. You can see that it has shelves, it has walls, and it's a big square, okay? So when we have stuff that sits in our tanks, goes into our tanks, it has the potential to land on those shelves, land in the corners, and stick to those walls. Now, when we drain it, you have a tank that's about the size of this table, and it's a good surface area, okay? But you have a tiny 3-inch hole at the end of that, okay? That 3-inch hole is draining everything to it. Just like a rock in a river, you're gonna form eddies in the corners. Large things are gonna get sucked into those corners, and they're gonna start to build up in those corners. They're also, when we're talking about the drop of water, is gonna be relatively slow, and so things that are on those shelves will get stuck on those shelves and stay on those shelves. Now, if it has a high shelf up on top, that water has dropped past it, and it will take several hours to days before water will come back up to it and rehydrate. So things along that top shelf are going to harden, dry up, and be stuck right along that top shelf. Now, if you look at this picture on here, you're gonna see these 4 little dots off to the side of it. And that's where your sensors are often located, is off to the corner of a rig, where it can go, okay, we've got our ground at the bottom, and we've got our little sensors going all the way at the top. Well, unfortunately, that's where a lot of the stuff is accumulating in the corners. The stuff is going to start building up, and those sensors are going to stop reading. You'll notice that we've all had sensor issues, at least most of us have had sensor issues, where the sensors have, gone to 1/3, and that's as far as they would go. And then it's 2/3, and then the thing just always reads full. And so that would be the reason, is that you got stuff building up in the corner. Let's go back one page and talk about what kind of sensors are in rigs, okay? The first one that I'll show you is the one with all the wires going to it. And those are called nub sensors. Nub sensors work through a naturally open current, okay? So we have a ground at the bottom, and we have a hot lead coming in. And as soon as water comes up and connects those 2 circuits, that little light turns on. And then so on and so forth. As the water rises, it keeps turning on the lights in sequence as they go up. One little tiny piece of toilet paper hanging off of that thing going into the water can complete that circuit. Buildup in front of it can complete that circuit. So as things build up on them, as they become, covered in whatever they're covered in, and they're scuzzy and stuff like that, those lights will no longer turn off. So the other type of sensors that we have, which you'll typically find on higher end fifth wheels and motor coaches, are called strip sensors. Strip sensors are basically like a stud finder. They send a radio wave into the tank, and it's a very weak radio wave, but it sends a radio wave into the tank saying, okay, where am I at? And it'll usually have a readout on the inside of your rig that has 20%, 15%, 33%, 100%, all the way up. Now that is sending in a little radio wave, much the same. If there's stuff that builds up in front of it, it will not be able to read through it, and it's going to go, oh, I'm always at 33% now. So those are the reason that sensors get blocked, they stop being able to be read, and we run into our issues. The best way to clean those is with our hydrojetting system, because we're going in there and we're spraying directly on those sensor panels, and we are cleaning them off. We're getting them cleaned out, and we're making them operate back to where they are. You can save yourself thousands of dollars of having to replace sensors. Oh, well, they stop working. Not that they're not working, it's the fact that most of the time they're just covered up. Now, usually people go, well, I have a black tank rinser inside my RV. I should be able to hook up the hose, and it's going to rinse that off. Now, back to the previous page, the one with the RV, the Class A design. If you look at the back of that little black tank, you see that tiny little sprayer. That's not an exaggeration. They are very small. They are a fan head, or they are a rain head. A fan head, it has a hose coming into it, and it's jutting water off of the fan sprayer, and it's spraying water out like this. It's not extreme pressure. It's about as good as putting your thumb over a garden hose loosely and spraying it around. So it's just kind of hitting the inside. You're going to have a wonderful clean line across the bottom of your tank where it's hitting. You're going to have one clean line, and then it's just going to be running the water over there after it loses momentum. And we also have ring heads. Those are about as good as a watering can inside your black tanks. That water's going to come down in a nice big circle about that big inside your rig. Now if we take that and we compare it to our tank, you've either got a clean spot here, 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 depending on where that's located. So rinsers aren't doing a whole lot of justice, and they are not pointing right at your sensor panel. Where your sensors are, it's not clearing them off, it's not spraying them with good enough water to move things along and get them out of the way. So our rinsers do provide one good thing for us. It's the exchange of water. The one thing I want you to take away from this is water is crucial to your rigs, okay? Your RV holding tanks need water to function really well, okay? The more we fill them up, the quicker we fill them up, the better the ratio that we have in there. You're trying to achieve a 40 to 60% ratio, 40 being waste, 60 being water. So you get things in suspension that want to move along. You don't want to give them time to settle and break down and do that. You want it to move away, you want it to come out, okay? Rinsing your tanks helps move things along. Yes, it's not going to clean your tank sufficiently. It's going to move things toward the gate. So when you have a clean tank, you're going to be able to move large solids and things along closer to the gate. They're made for rinsing, not for cleaning. So, going on to the next one, tank additives. So, how many of you guys use tank additives, such as Happy Camper, Unique, some of the other ones? Do you guys use those? Okay. We don't recommend additives at all, okay? Additives have enzymes in them. If it breaks down or liquefies, it will cause issues in your tank. There's a reason I have a job. That is one of the biggest myths in the RVing world. Turning your holding tank into a septic system because you put additives in there to break things down. When we break things down, everything settles to the bottom of your tank. It will sit at the bottom of your tank and start to form a thick peanut butter sludge that cannot be moved by our rinser, by anything that we're doing, okay? It's gonna settle to the bottom, it's gonna start to build up. Over about a year of full-time living in a rig, you can build 5 to 15 pounds of waste inside your rig from it breaking down. So if you ever need to cut weight in your RV, have your tanks cleaned first because we can get rid of a lot of it. All right, so all that stuff's breaking down, settling to the bottom of your tank, and it's not going anywhere. That's the other reason you start to form smells, the potential for poop pyramids. Your sensors stop working. This stuff is breaking down inside your rig. Yes, ma'am.
What about that Dawn dish soap and Calgon bath beads and that sort of mixture?
We're about to get there.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have all these things that are breaking things down. Probably not the best. Remember, your tanks are holding tanks. We hold on to stuff for a short period of time and we get rid of it, releasing it to the septic system or the sewer system of the city. Let it break down in the septic system. Let it, do what it needs to. You don't want to do that inside your rig. The moment you start doing that stuff inside your rig, is the chance that things are going to start building up on it. When things build up, you're going to start seeing problems. You're going to have the odors. You're going to have sensors stop working. All right, so, I really want to put something in my tank. One, use plenty of water. You can run your entire rig efficiently on just water and not have to put anything into your rig, and your tanks will operate better than if you put a bunch of additives into it. But I really, really, really want to put something in my tank. Well, Kleen Tank does suggest using pine salt and Calgon. There's a better tank additive, which is on the next page. We do recommend using pine salt and Calgon inside your tanks. Now let me explain why. Calgon is a hydrofactant. It breaks water tension, okay? It makes water wetter or slicker, okay? Pine salt. Pine salt is a deodorizer, kinda, and a cleaner, kinda. Put anything in a black tank, trust me, it's not clean. But on a molecular level, pine salt has the smallest cleaning molecule and can actually penetrate porous plastics. That works the best on a clean tank. okay? You can't just put pine sol into a peanut butter sludge tank and hope that it's gonna do anything, okay? It will help keep things slick and it will help keep things moving, but if your tank's already really sludged up or it has a lot of stuff in it, it's just going to move off the top just like any other thing will. Have your tanks clean. This will really start to work really well for you, but is also a great thing for you to put in there. On average, your typical tank additives cost you about $1 to $1.50 per treatment. This costs 13 cents and you make it yourself. You make a gallon jug of this up, you put 8 ounces of it into a tank with 2 to 5 gallons of water, and that's your tank's primed and you're good to go. It's going to make the walls of the tank slippery without leaving a residue behind, okay? It's going to help clean things off of there and move things toward the drain. Again, we're not breaking things down. We want things to stay in suspension and we want them to leave our RV. We don't want to be carrying around all that extra weight or all that extra product, okay? So if you want to, you can make your own additive. Again, 8 ounces, the recipe's there for you. Every single piece of literature that is up here or I give to you will always have the Kleen Tank recipe on it. We stand behind it. It's been working really well for 13 years and there are people all over the internet, all over rallies, all over everything that do nothing but sing praises about what that solution does. If you don't want to use that solution and you want to use your additives, go ahead. Hold on to my card, call me in a year. Okay. Let's talk some tips and tricks, or no, let's talk TP first. Who uses RV rated toilet paper? Okay, don't bother. Use whatever toilet paper you want, okay? Plenty of water, 4 or 5 squares of toilet paper, wipe twice, wipe 3 times. If they're small chunks, they're gonna go in there, they're gonna float around, they're not gonna do anything to your tank. Doesn't matter what brand of toilet paper you use. If you want to throw your toilet paper away, go ahead. But you bought the rig, flush it like a toilet. You can do what you want with your rig. Just use lots of water. If you're using plenty of water, you're not going to have a problem with any type of toilet paper. Technically, with the RV one-ply toilet paper, that stuff that is no fun to wipe with anything, you know, you can think of it as being the flour to the cake batter. It will break down, it will become a problem, and it will build up everywhere. Use good toilet paper because good toilet paper doesn't break down as fast. It will break down at the same rate as Scott's 2-ply and Charmin. You put them in a jar and you shake them together, those two are going to break down at the exact same rate. They're not going to change anything. They're just fine to put inside your tank. So, use whatever toilet paper you like. Personally, you know, there's 2 things I can stand for in this world, and that's good coffee, good toilet paper. If you got good coffee, you're gonna need good toilet paper. Go ahead and make sure you use whatever toilet paper makes you happy, okay? All right. So on the subject of toilet paper and water and stuff like that, how do I know how much water I'm getting in there and if I'm achieving the right goal for our black tank, okay? Number 1, when you take a number 1, hold that bowl down and fill it all the way up 1 time. Flush it down. That's 1 gallon of water with whatever you just put in there. For a number 2, 2 bowls of water. That's gonna help you achieve that 40-60 ratio. Okay, does everybody know how to hold down or hold the handle just slightly and it fills the toilet? Fill it all the way up to that edge, not the lip, the edge. Don't overflow your toilets. It's about 1 inch from the top. About 1 inch from the top of any standard bowl inside an RV is 1 gallon. That's gonna help you get things flushed in. The reason that this is also important, when your RV was made, they make it so it can travel down a road. So we've got a stub that goes down into our big square. On that stub, there's oftentimes, if you're on a decently built rig, you're gonna have a stub that's about 3 to 4 inches hanging inside that tank. If you're on a less quality built rig, that stub is literally cut off at an eye and it can be almost 6 to 7 inches long, which is only about 2 inches from the bottom of your tank, okay? So when water falls in there or whatever we put in there falls in there, it's gonna hit that bottom of the tank and it's not gonna go anywhere. It's gonna try to stay right there. And over time, as we're flushing and flushing and flushing, it's gonna start building up and that's where we get poop pyramids from. We want to flush water behind whatever we put in there so it gets out of the way of the pipe, moves into the tank, and stays over here in suspension. Because again, your toilet, drop it in right here, and then it can build up here. We want to move it where it's starting to move down the way. Get that thing moving along, allow water to do its job and help you out in the long run. Let's talk gray tanks real quick. On your gray tanks, does anybody in here have a mobile suite? Mobile suite is almost the only one that builds in tank rinsers into the gray tank. Nobody else does it besides some Integras and some Newmars. So gray tank rinsing, huge thing. It would be great if everybody put in a gray tank rinser. Oftentimes, when I'm out here cleaning rigs and we're cleaning all these tanks out, yes, the black tank stinks. Gray tank stinks way worse. And the stuff that comes out of gray tanks will make your jaw drop. It is unbelievable. We have food particles, we have grease. I don't care if you wipe off every plate in your rig before you wash it. It will find little tiny pieces of grease. Grease is attracted to grease, and then before you know it, you got little balls floating around everywhere inside your tank. And as soon as you start to drain, they stop on the plastic and they stay there. So you've got grease, you've got food particles, you've got soap, and you've got mold. Mold is in those tanks. It doesn't matter how well you rinse them, mold is always going to be there. And mold likes to flower or bloom. And as it blooms, it'll stick to the top of your gray tank, and it'll just kind of coat the entire top. Anywhere water is not frequently found, you have a perfect environment for mildew and mold to grow. It is got food, it's got a dark, damp, warm, cool climate. Sometimes it can breathe. We've got a vent stack. It's not always submerged in water. It's going to start flowering, it's going to start growing, and it will spread out throughout the entire thing. It is very hard to get out without, constant maintenance of filling that tank all the way to the top and flushing, but no one needs to do that. We can come and clean it out, hydrogenning will take it right out. But there is something you can do to maintain your tanks in the meantime to help it not be as frequently. Okay, so when you're going into your tanks and you're rinsing out your black tank, you drop it, turn on a black tank rinser, cool. Well, how do I take care of my gray tank? There is a tool out there, it's called Flush King, okay? This gets attached to your sewer outlet, okay? You close your black tank, you open one of your gray tanks that you're gonna be working on. Always select a tank that you're gonna work on that one alone. If you don't select a tank, this is gonna come flying off there and kick you in the chest like a mule. Don't do that. Always pick a tank to work on. Open the gray tank, close this valve, hook up your water, and start filling that tank. Know how many gallons are inside your tank. Most tanks are 30 to 45 gallons. Most. Check with your distributor to find out exactly how big your tank is. All right, we're gonna put 75% of the capacity of that tank into it, okay? We're gonna fill water into that tank, and we're going to try to achieve a decent flush on the inside. How does this work? We are sending a tsunami of water into that tank, and it goes in and it churns everything up and starts rinsing off the sides and everything. And then as soon as we get it in there, we're gonna pull that, and all that suction of that 75% of the water, that weight, is gonna start coming out. It's gonna draw anything that it kicked up. All right, so using the Flush King, what we're gonna do is we're gonna hook up our water source, and we're gonna make sure we pick one tank to work on. Right now we're gonna working on the galley tank. We're gonna leave the galley tank open and this check valve closed back here. I've got my shutoff valve, a save a drop water meter so we can count how many gallons we're putting in, a backflow preventer, and then I have a redundant shutoff. Right. Your backflow preventer is required by law, right, to make sure that things don't flow backward down the pipe. Correct. So we're going to start filling that up. What you're going to achieve is a about 70 to 80% of the tank's capacity. Your tank should be a 45 gallon tank, and then so we're going to try and get about 30 gallons in there, and that should be fine. It's going to come out clear. That's when you're 100% clean. Yeah. So your galley tank is nice and clean. Great. how is this better than, a tank rinser? Because this does work on your black tank. Well, you are releasing almost a 2-inch wall of water dependent on the park pressure. If the park pressure is bad, you're not going to be able to do as much, but it still helps. And you're doing things in a reverse direction for it. I use this, and then I got a whole bunch of looks like people thought I was driving on the wrong side of the road. But has anybody driven on the wrong side of the road in a construction zone? How it's a lot rougher when you're going the opposite direction? On asphalt, things, as we're going this way, because asphalt is still kind of a liquid, if you will. After time, yes, it does harden, but it hardens with ridges going with the way the tires are going. You're not going to feel it going with traffic, but if you're going the opposite direction, there's ridges. Okay, much the same with your tank. All that stuff that's on the inside has been used to flowing in one direction, toward the drain. When we reverse the direction, it actually gets under those lips and starts removing some of the stuff that's in there. Now, if you have a perfectly clean tank, this thing works amazingly well for anything I got left behind. Fills it up, knocks it in suspension, pulls it out. This can help clean out a tank slightly, not the best, but it will help. You can go in there, it'll knock as much as it can into suspension. You pull it, rinse it through 3 times, it'll pull a lot of stuff out. Great tool, recommend that every person has one on their RV. It's called a Flush King by Volterra. Find it on Amazon. It's a great thing. How do I know how much water I'm putting into my tank? Get yourself a Save a Drop water meter, also on Amazon. The Save a Drop water meter counts how many gallons that go into it. Are they a perfect counter? No. I've had some that were, 0.3 of a gallon off to, 0.1 of a gallon off. It's not a huge thing, but that's why we stop at that 75%, so we don't flood our rigs. You can get this on Amazon, you can get this on Amazon. If you are doing this, never walk away. Never get distracted. Never talk to your neighbors. Okay?
Amen.
If you are, turn it off, talk to your neighbor, and then go back to it. You will flood your coach in seconds if you do this and not pay attention to it. Pay attention to it, use it the right way, give this the respect it is, because this can cost you lots and lots of money if you don't do it the right way. Don't walk away, easy solution, take care of your rigs. Okay? So these are some tools you can buy to help maintain your rigs. These tools work the best after your tanks are restored to a factory new or have been cleaned. Okay, let's go on to the myths. RV toilet paper we've addressed. Tank rinsers we've addressed. Who has done the ice in the tank trick and drive down the road? Good, don't waste your money. Okay, putting 10 pounds of ice inside your rig, by the time you get to your ignition, turn on that key, it's melted and it has become what? Water. What is the key to keeping our tanks clean? Water. So, just put water in your tanks. Yes, the sloshing down the road does help. Put 10 gallons of water in your tanks, drive down the road, sloshing back and forth, does the same thing. Because the ice, if you were to actually maintain, let's say you put 20 pounds of ice in there and some water. When ice gets wet, it starts to, all those sharp edges and stuff go away. It becomes smooth, it's not actually doing anything, and it floats. Water, back and forth, is still gonna slosh, it's still gonna help clean things off, it'll help get some water on those rails, knock things off that are able to come down. Is any of this stuff gonna really lift the sludge and stuff? No, it can help, but we always recommend that when on moving day or you're going somewhere, put 10 gallons of water inside your tanks, drive down the road. As soon as you get where you're going and you have the ability to safely drop and dump into a septic system, do it. You're gonna be amazed at how much stuff was knocked into suspension and you were able to take out. Good little trick to do, but the ice is completely pointless. Don't waste your money. All right, so Dawn dish soap and other detergents in your tank, such as Tide, those kind of things. Dawn dish soap. If you're washing your dishes, great, wash your dishes with Dawn. I do, but we're not dumping cups of Dawn down our drains. If you start dumping lots of Dawn and dish soap into your drains, it has two things that it's doing. One, once Dawn has gone in there and starts, moving without agitation, Dawn doesn't really do a whole lot to actually knock anything down, clean anything up. And once Dawn dries, when you've emptied your tank, it becomes tacky. the same as laundry soap. First time laundry soap gets nice and wet, it's real smooth, real slick. Let your fingers dry and get them wet again, it'll become tacky, okay? It's going to start grabbing onto things and holding onto things. Detergents, that's what they do. You look at them as they're Pac-Man, okay? First time you put them in there and it goes and eats up a bunch of stuff, when Pac-Man gets full, he's gonna want to be released down the drain so he can go away and you can bring in a new Pac-Man. All right, when your particle gets full, it's going to shut down and it's going to just become tacky and sticky because it can't absorb anything else. So, borax. Borax method. I've heard a lot of people say, oh, well, borax works so great, it's amazing, it's a great cleaner. Yeah, I mean, you're washing clothes, you're washing hats, stuff like that. Yeah, borax is an amazing cleaner. You put borax in warm water, food coloring, and a little bit of Dawn dish soap, it becomes an art project. It can actually grow crystals up to about 2 inches big. If you use enough Dawn and borax will settle to the bottom. It'll get locked into the peanut butter sludge at the bottom, and you start agitating and you start, giving it the perfect environment, a nice shower, it'll actually start to grow crystals. Crystals will harden, your tank will become that much harder to clean. Borax is useful in the right applications. That's for clothes and materials. It is not for your tanks. Don't do it. Again, if you like it, we can get it out. Once you crystallize your tanks, give me a call. We'll take care of it. Laundry detergent pods, we went over that, but pods, those the plastic cases or the dissolvable cases that the pods come in, especially for detergents that go in a washing machine. It needs agitation for that material that it's supposed to dissolve in. It needs agitation to actually break that down. So if you're just dropping pod after pod after pod in, and it isn't, you're going to have a huge clump of pods that come out after a while. Seen it many, many times. Don't bother with using pods. Don't bother with using the TST pods because they do the same. They need agitation to break down. So again, additives, stuff like that, don't bother using them. Try the Kleen Tank solution or just try water. Alrighty. Let's, real quick about us. We do come out to your site. We don't leave a mess. We are water conscious in the drought. We are approved by the state and by the city of Rockport to do cleanings. Not a lot of people have reached out to Rockport to do cleanings. I know this because I hold permit number 1. No one has ever requested a permit for a drought season. We do hold a permit because we wanted to follow the right thing. I also clean tanks in Colorado. We're always under a drought restriction. Water is key. We go in with about a gallon per minute on our hydrojetter, and we're able to clean your tanks efficiently without wasting much of water. So 1500 PSI, clean your tanks, restore them to the factory new. This service we offer at $275. Normal price is $300, but we offer a winter Texan appreciation rate, $275 up to 3 tanks. Anything after 3 tanks is just $25 additional. Questions? Who's got questions for me? I know you got questions. Really? I was that good? There we go.
The gray tank stuff, would you still use that pine sol and calgon?
This is black tank and gray tank. You use them both in both tanks. Okay. You can find calgon on Amazon or the Kleen Tank website. Amazon sometimes sells it for $5, sometimes sells it for $45. We sell it for $9 all the time. Play the pricing game. Go on Amazon, check out how much calgon costs on there in comparison to Kleen Tank, which you know is always $9 plus shipping and handling. If it's $10 on Amazon, buy it on Amazon. You know, you're gonna pay shipping and handling, it's gonna cost more than that anyways. But if you're at like $15, one tub of this stuff on Amazon, buy it through us, it's gonna be cheaper. Anyways, that's where you can find it. Kleen Tank does have a dealer store where you can buy jugs, has an RVer store where you can buy jugs, pine sol, calgon, flush kings, safe to drop water meters. All of that stuff can be found on the Kleen Tank website. Of course, a lot of this stuff you can find on Amazon or at your local grocery stores. We're not here to make money off of the tools. We're here to help you with your tanks. Why we're not charging arm and a leg for a lot of this stuff. Yes, sir.
What about your freshwater tank service?
Well, you can pay me $75 to sit there for 4 hours. I can tell you how to fix it or do it yourself. I don't mind sitting there for 4 hours, but you know, save yourself the money. If you're wanting to sanitize your freshwater system, you can use bleach or you can use vinegar. It is for...
I've seen the process. I was just wondering if you offer it.
Yeah, I mean, it eats so much of my time that I will tell you how to do it. You know, I mean, 1 cup per 15 gallons on vinegar, let it sit for 8 hours, and you know, then you can just drain your tank, fill it up, rinse it, fill it up, rinse it. It's a lot of water. I would do it when we're not under a drought restriction to clean those out. Bleach is half that, okay? Bleach, you need to be very, very careful and make sure that you do rinse your tanks and restore that to a safe level, which is 2 parts per million. Bleach, like a pool tester, 2 parts per million is safe water. It's about the same as a swimming pool. So make sure that you are doing it the safe way and that you are testing your water before you're consuming your water. All right. If this is something that you guys do want to get signed up for and you would like to have your tanks cleaned, please see me. I would be happy to get you guys signed up. It is a great service. We do recommend that you have this service done annually to every 3 years, okay? Again, in about 6 months of full-time living, you can build up to about 5 pounds inside your rig. So if you'd like to, we're happy to come out, get your rig serviced, get those tanks cleaned, and anything that you want. On those little white sheets of paper that I handed out, yes, they have, do I want a service? If you want a service, come see me. Those white sheets of paper I'm collecting so we can give away a Buffalo Trace and a bottle of wine. So if everybody could fill that out, you know, basically with your name, that's fine. Get them into me, we'll do a drawing. And any other questions or anything like that?
Your contact information?
I have business cards up here at the front and flyers.
Can I also have your...
Yes.
Is there any difference between using the box and the jar of beads that you have?
There's only one difference, okay? This, yes, you can find this at Walmart. No, it doesn't work quite as well as this. They are very, very similar. They will still do the same thing. This you can find readily, this you have to buy online. Canadian made, American distributor, you know. No, there's not a price jack on bath soap. This stuff, if you mix it with traditional pine salt, just the regular straight old pine salt, will foam up a bit. Mix it slowly, okay? Put your measurement of the bath pearls in the jug, and then slowly add your pine salt to it. The easiest way to get around that is get the lemon, the lavender, or the ocean breeze, mix it, no reaction whatsoever. But if you use the traditional straight up pine salt, it will foam up on you. With this stuff, no reaction, no foam, no nothing. Just go ahead and mix it. Cool. Yes, ma'am.
What about using a common liquid?
It doesn't work. They don't really do the hydrofactant in it because they've already liquefied it and they're like, woohoo! Yeah, it doesn't work. So use the pearls or the beads. It's the best way to do it. We were really excited. We were like, oh, cool, we can just use the liquid. It didn't work at all. So in their makeup of it, they removed something. So, alrighty, cool. I'll collect some cards. Thank you.